friends, welcome back to the channel. It is story time, and today we're doing Druids. We're going to learn about Druids at the Druids Hound Inn, so I think we should know more about Druids. So I have been doing my research, finding out more about them, and I'd like to share with you a few things that I learned. According to the Museum of Wales, the earliest mention of Druids comes during the 1st century BC, referring to them as wise men, overseers of natural phenomena, and moral philosophers. Similar to the Druids were the bards, singers and poets, and diviners who interpreted sacrifices in order to foretell the future. Druids and bards were common in medieval Welsh and Irish texts. The appearance of Druids, though, what they wore is difficult to clarify. There are few illustrations or inscriptions, but a Druid ceremony was described by Fellini. I could say that before I started filming, and now I can't. P-L-I-N-Y. Pliny. In his book, Natural History. It describes a white-robed Druid climbing an oak tree to cut down mistletoe with a golden sickle. That I find hard. I guess you could gold. Gold is a soft metal, so I don't think it would make a good cutting tool. So maybe it was like lead covered in gold, because I think they have found some jewelry that was lead based, covered in gold. Maybe. Okay, and then on the Britannica website, I found that a Druid was a member of the learned class among the ancient Celts. They acted as priests, teachers, and judges. The earliest known records of Druids come from the 3rd century BCE. Their name may, remember we talked in some of our other videos about this, it may come from a word meaning knower of the oak tree. In our Celtic tree sign video on the oak, we talked about that. But very little is known for certain about the Druids, who kept no records of their own. And again, like I have said in other videos, I find it so hard to believe that they would not write stuff down. I think they probably did. It just hasn't been found, or either it was destroyed. Because if you're a teacher, you got to have lesson notes and stuff. It just doesn't make sense to me that since they did have a writing method of them, that they weren't writing stuff down. I mean, if nothing else, land ownership and things like that. But I digress. But according to Julius Caesar, which I'm not sure I believe anything he says, but according to Julius Caesar, who is the principal source of information about the Druids, which brings it all into question, there were 2 groups of men in Gaul that were held in honor, the Druids and the noblemen. Caesar related that the Druids took charge of public and private sacrifices, I guess like religious kind of things, kind of like the priest in the Jewish ancient culture did. And many young men went to them for instruction, and they judged all public and private quarrels and decreed penalties. If anyone disobeyed their law, their decree, he was barred from sacrifice, which was considered the gravest of punishments. And you see this in other ancient civilizations too. Like I mentioned about the ancient Israelite culture, the priest pretty much was, you might have a king, but then you had a priest, and that priest, people went to them for healing, they went for them for teaching, They went to them for sacrifice, and also corals and things like that too. So they it's kind of like that. And I think some of the known by other names, maybe shaman, medicine man, these kind of different terms in all clan-based tribal type cultures, I think had members that were like this, who had these kind of responsibilities. Excuse me. Okay, so and yeah, so being barred from sacrifice was like being put out of the church when the church was the main focus of all tribal life kind of thing. So it was a big deal to be excluded from that. And it was considered the gravest of punishments. One druid was made chief, so he would be the arch druid, and upon his death, another was appointed. If, however, several were equal in merit, the druids would vote. But they would sometimes resort to armed violence, as you see in a lot of elections throughout history. But, yeah. And once a year, the Druids assembled at a sacred place in the territory of the Carnutes, which was believed to be the center of all Gaul. And all legal disputes were there submitted to the judgment of the Druids. That, I think, would be like an ancient Supreme Court. Yeah, like ancient Supreme Court. Okay. Now, Caesar also recorded that the Druids abstained from warfare and paid no tribute. So that would definitely attract people to join the order voluntarily or be sent by their families to study with them. So they studied ancient verse, natural philosophy, astrology, and lore of the gods, some spending as much as 20 years in training. So the Druids were said to believe that the soul was immortal and that it passed at death from person to person. That's interesting. Okay, so we can see that now you've got other legends and lores that not only see these as an important part of society, but also that they would have, magical type powers. And that's, I think, debatable. But we love our folklore around here, so. And it is story time, so we do have a little story. So our story. When Ireland was ruled by the Tuatha De Danann, the Malaysians sought to win the island by engaging in battle with the three kings, their druids, and their warriors. As they sailed towards the shore, the druids of the Tuatha De Danann raised a magical storm to keep them from reaching land. However, Amergin, druid of the Malaysians, sang an invocation calling upon the spirit of Ireland that has come to be known as the Song of Amergin. And he was able to part the storm and bring the ships safely to land. Then, after more than one major battle and many losses, the Malaysians won the day. The three kings of the Tuatha De Danann were killed in single combat by three of the sons of Mil, Eber, Finn, and Ermion. And the translation of the Song of Amergin, translated by Augusta Lady Gregory, I'll have on the screen, and we can listen to the song by EilishButler. This is really, really pretty. That was so pretty. Like that. So that's an interesting case of Druid against Druid. Power against power. So that's our story for today. And I learned a lot about Druids. At least what they think they know about Druids. I'm waiting for the actual scroll to be found somewhere, or inscribed rock that actually has what they wrote themselves, because I think someday it might actually show up, because I still cannot believe they didn't write things down. But thank you guys for hanging out with me for story time, and I will see you again next time on the channel. Thank you so much for being here and hanging out with me. Granny gets lonely, and so I'm glad that you like some of the same interesting stories, and I'm glad to share them with you. So I hope you'll come and hang out with me again. Right now I got to go take care of all the doggies, all the hounds from the Druids Inn. So see you guys later. Thanks. Bye.